Welcome to the Bourbon Talk Show, the ABV Network's original YouTube series, where we interview some of the most interesting people from the world of bourbon. Today on the show, we'll be talking to George Rose, the moonshiner known as Pappy G, and Richard Paul, owner of Art of the Spirits. My name is McNew. Please join me in welcoming our host for the evening, Steve Akley.
Hey gang, what's going on? Hey, thank you. So we've got a fun show today. We're going to be talking to George Rose and Richard Paul. Should be a fun evening and a couple of great guys, and looking forward to finding a little bit more about what they've got going on and all those good things. But we'll get to that in just a little bit. We always kick off the show by talking about what's going on in the world of bourbon. So McNew, we have three stories as always in the first one. Number one, baby. Number one. My book on Amazon. Number one. That's so cool that Bourbon Assignments hit number one in the spirits category, which is so cool. And I can't believe it. I thought I had a good idea there, and people have stepped up and liked the concept and have bought the book, and it's just amazing to me.
And it's its first official week out, isn't it? Number one in your first week?
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, really a neat thing. I like the idea that people like it and kind of get the concept. And, you got some people out there already working at getting points because there's about assignments in that. So
arrived today, and then they're just like, we're going to go get started. They were on it.
Yeah, that's cool. And, Heidi and Jim, of course, they're using it as a travel guide, and they're going around to the places, and they're trying to maximize their points as to where they go, which is cool. And they're showing it to the people when they get there. So, I didn't talk to anybody. I didn't ask anybody if they wanted to be in the book. I wrote about the places I like and highlighted them in there. And I didn't give them any heads up or anything like that. It's my book, and I wrote about what I want to write about. So they've all been pleasantly surprised to be featured in the book, which is cool. And it's fun. It's fun.
That's awesome. I want to think like maybe you can get some off Amazon and get them into gift shops if you're sending a lot of people their way. That's exciting.
Yes. Yeah. So, I think that's something I need to work on, and it'll be at Neely Family Distillery. That much I've confirmed, but yes, I need to work on some of the other ones as well. So that'd be a cool thing. I decided to, so October 19th, it's a free event, and I'm going to do these from time to time. Kind of get back. Anybody who's bought the book is welcome to attend. And we'll just talk about it, bourbon travel, or if you guys have ideas for me, places I need to go, because there's always going to be more places to go than I've actually, gone to in a given book. So we'll just get together as a group and kind of try to make it a little Bourbon Assignments community. So it should be a fun thing. Again, free. Got to sign up on our Eventbrite though. So it's October 19th. Next story, McNeil. This is a sadder one. No George T. Stagg for 2021. Bummer, right?
Were people going to get it anyway? I mean, it's not is it a huge loss to the majority? Probably not, but I don't know. That's because that's such a classic lineup, right? Like it's in the BTAC lineup. Like it runs a tradition, so I hate it for that reason. But at the end of the day, I wasn't getting one anyway. So,
but that being said, if you have friends, and I have, believe it or not, I've got a couple of friends, so. There's never been a year when I haven't tried it, from one way or another. I mean, you get a group of friends and you share, and you're in a bourbon club or something like that. There's always people that haven't and try it. So yeah. Have I been able to score a bottle every year? No. Have I tried it every year? Heck yeah. Yeah. So, or at restaurants. I mean, it's a special bourbon, I think. And the fact they're not having it. Yeah.
I've tried a couple of years. I also think it's great, but and also I wonder, like, were the barrels really not good enough, or is Buffalo Trace just really hyping up 2022? People are going to lose their minds next year when it's out.
But see, I don't believe that, and that's that the internet would tell you that's true. But they sell every bottle anyway instantly. It's not like, okay, we sold all bottles out in 6 minutes in 2020. We're going to skip a year, and then in 2022 we can sell them out in 3 minutes. It doesn't matter. It's all gone.
Yeah,
anyway.
They're going to sell out no matter what. So
I don't believe the conspiracies. I don't believe it.
On this conspiracy theory, though.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. They're in deep. I mean, it's a whole thing that's going on. It's like, it's not high enough on the secondary because that's the one that they made the most of always, and all this crazy stuff. And I don't know. I don't believe it. But I do believe the next conspiracy theory on story number 3 here. Stoli hired David Mandel. He was the guy, one of the founders of Bardstown Bourbon Company, guy who's well thought of, but
Yeah.
You know, we talked to him when he left, right at the time they left, and sound very sincere. He was going to go with his wife. She had an opportunity in DC. He was getting out of the industry, and
Yeah.
and going to move with his family, and he was going to focus on family first, and not be in the industry anymore, and work locally somewhere in DC. He was going to find a job. Now, that being said, he's never truly left the bourbon industry. He was part of the Kentucky Bourbon Festival. He was on the board, that part of that, and now he gets named. He's working for Stoli. Well, okay, why did he leave? Why did he leave Bardstown Bourbon Company? I don't know. There's something here. Now, here's your conspiracy theory. But work on this, people. There's something there. There's a reason.
I think it's because Stoli wants Bourbon Disneyland. They've been talking about it forever. He can run a festival. He knows bourbon. Who else is better to build Bourbon Disneyland?
Okay. I thought Disneyland was dead too. We heard a lot about it, and Dixon Dedman was talking about it. Then it disappeared. Now we haven't heard anything. They stopped working. They broke ground and they were working for a little bit, and there's been no work on that site or anything like that. So I just assumed, relocation of assets. Maybe we're not going to build a distillery. Now all of a sudden it's back on, and I don't know.
Yeah, they just needed the right mouseketeer. They found it.
I guess so. There it is. We'll watch out for that one. I think it's a cool idea, and I'd love to visit what they've got lined out. It looks beautiful. So yeah. There's room for them. Hopefully they are on it, and we'll see. But the whole David Mandel thing, why? I don't understand. There's more here than we're finding out about. So we'll see if maybe it comes out, maybe it doesn't. Yeah. All right. Well, it is time now to talk to our guest. So our first guest is known for moonshining and his flowing mane of hair. He's got also a very distinctive look with his clothes and his hat, and the fact he's always carrying a mash paddle with him. So ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Pappy G himself, Mr. George Rose. Hey, George, what's going on, man? There you go. Mash paddle right there. Good evening. He's never without one. Yeah. Is that for like a weapon, or do you use it like a cane to help you walk? Why do you always have a mash paddle with you?
It's actually just a walking stick.
A walking stick. Okay.
Yeah.
Has anyone ever got cracked with one?
They've come really close.
Yeah. It's like Teddy Roosevelt used to carry one, and he would sometimes have to throttle people if he felt they were being unpatriotic or any number of things. He'd fly off the handle. And, imagine doing something like that today. It's just unheard of. But back in the day, you might get it from Teddy Roosevelt himself.
Yep,
that'd be pretty wild. I saw on social media, I can't remember if it was Facebook or what, but I saw that you were wanting a drone for your birthday. Why would you want a drone?
Well, that was a couple of years ago.
Okay,
I've outgrown that.
You've outgrown it.
yeah, I've outgrown that. No, my son got one, and he wouldn't let me play with it for obvious reasons, because he knew I'd probably crash it, and tear it all to pieces.
Right.
I just thought they were neat, just to take pictures, aerial views and stuff of different places and different things, and I don't know, something to play with.
Yeah, they do have some amazing cameras on there. The photographs you get out of some of those things are incredible, just breathtaking. So yeah, it's cool. I got a good drone story. We talked about Dixon Dedman when I was with Bo Cumberland, and he sent the drone up at Dixon Dedman's place, and as he's bringing it down, he hits the sign outside of his that inn that he runs there. And Bo, of course, is trying to put it away real quick. Dixon Dedman's outside with his dad. His dad was doing some yard work at the inn, and Dixon was talking to him, and Bo hits that sign, and of course is worried that he's broke the sign and broke his drone and everything else. And he goes and grabs it, puts it away in his car real quick. As he's putting it in his truck, his kid runs across the street to Dixon and says, "Mr. Dedman, you may want to check your sign. My dad hit it with the drone and it may be broke."
Perfect.
Bo was furious. He was like, "We're just getting out of here." And he was like, "That's it." And he's like, "When we get home, do not tell your mother," because he had broken it before, and it cost, I don't know, $100 to fix it. She was furious, and he said, "Don't tell your mother." Of course, what does the kid do? He immediately runs inside and tells his mom. Of course, yeah. So it was pleasant. So yes, that's hanging out with Bo. You never know what you're going to find.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your interest in moonshine. It's an interesting story because I, of course, talk to you a lot, and I've asked this question every time I talk to you, but it's always a little bit different audience. So if you don't mind, kind of, even though you and I have talked about this before, let's act like I've never heard it before, and let's talk a little bit about how your start in moonshine.
Once upon a time in a land far, far away. Oh, wait a minute, wrong story. I'm sorry. No, my family immigrated from Ireland to Kentucky and homesteaded, and actually set up a grain mill called Casey's Mill here, not too far away from where I live. And of course, having a grain mill and being from Ireland led to, hey, we need to make whiskey. So my grandfather started at a very early age, I guess, making moonshine, and was pretty good at it, good enough to the point that he got connected with the Newport City government, which was actually run by the mob. That's Newport, Kentucky.
Sure.
And he was able to secure the unofficial contract for a lot of the speakeasies to furnish moonshine during the Prohibition. So he made moonshine for years. My mother helped him. All my brothers and sisters who were much older than me had the opportunity to work with him. He passed, and my mom found religion, and every time I'd bring it up, she's like, "That's the devil's work. Don't even know. I don't even want to hear about it."
Right.
So, being the good son that I was, I let it go until she passed. And then I got to thinking, it seems a shame not to carry on a family tradition. So I started researching, reading, trying different things here and there, and joined some online groups and talked to some really good people. And I finally kept experimenting till I got to a position where I had what I thought was a pretty good product to make.
Yeah.
And I was still really small production. I was running out of a 5-gallon pressure cooker at the time. And I decided, I'm going to go a little bigger. So I bought a copper wash tub, and I made what I called the manifold. Very unusual setup where the wash tub had 3 1-inch fittings coming out of the top, about 2 inches tall, that fed into a long copper pipe that went over to my worm. And it was a manifold shape. So everybody just thought that was insane at the time, but it worked wonderfully. So I got invited to go down to Maggie Valley by some really good friends. And I thought, okay, they call it the Hillbilly Jam, but it's basically the who's who of moonshining is there. And I thought this would be a good opportunity to at least kind of test the waters a little bit. And I'm scared to death. I was like, I told my nephew who went with me, I said, I'm going to get down here and these people tell me I've got the worst shit on earth.
Right.
I don't have a whole lot to compare to. So I got down here and met some people, and it was pretty well received. So the following year, when it came time to go, I was like, okay, I'm going to go for the gusto. There's one person I want to talk to down there, and that's JB Rader. JB's been in the business for God only knows how long. JB was a protege of Popcorn Sutton. And I got the opportunity to get JB off to the side. And actually, Mark Ramsey was with him at the time. And it was funny. I had it in a container, and I asked Mark if he would take a little drink and tell me what he thought. And Mark was smelling it and doing the whole, sniffing connoisseur type thing. And JB snatched it out of his hand. And he said, "You dumbass, it's made out of corn. I can smell it from here." But JB tried it, took another little drink of it. He looked at me. He said, young man, I'm going to tell you one thing right now, and I want you to take it to heart. Do not change anything you're doing. I don't give a damn what anybody tells you. You're at the pinnacle. Don't change nothing. And I thanked him for his time. And Mark, he got his little drink, and he said, yeah, that's really good. And I went to walk off, and JB grabbed me by my shirt and spun me back around. He said, I'm hoping you take this to heart. Don't change what you're doing for nobody. And to me, that was the ultimate
affirmation.
The ultimate confirmation. And from then, my confidence level, of course, went through the roof. Yeah. And I talked to a lot of other people down there who were well connected, and my product was very well received. There was one more individual that I really wanted to meet and talk to, and that was Rick Murphy, Paw Murphy.
Okay.
Paw Murphy, probably in his 80s now, I would guess. But he made moonshine with Junior Johnson. Of course, Junior Johnson became a NASCAR legend because of his driving abilities that he learned when he was making moonshine.
Yeah.
And I had the opportunity this past year to sit down for a few minutes with Paw, and I asked him to take a drink. And he tasted it, and he told me the same thing pretty much verbatim that JB Raider told me. He said, don't change what you're doing. You've got it.
There you go.
You don't need to, don't fiddle with it. You've got what you need to have. And that was just the icing on the cake.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty darn cool. The name you brand it under is the Wonder Cure. Is that just a nod to the old days when things like alcohol would be listed as a kind of a cure-all for whatever ailed you? Or is there some other reason that you've called it the Wonder Cure?
It's exactly back to the old snake oil salesman.
Mm-hmm.
The label I came up with was the Old Kentucky 31 Wonder Cure. I came up with the Old Kentucky 31 because I was looking at license plates one night, and the Kentucky license plate for 1931 is a really deep, dark green. And I fell in love with that shade of green. And I thought, there we go. So my original logo, if you want to call it that, is that license plate with background with white lettering, Pappy G, and then Kentucky 31 down in the corners. So then, I continuing on with that green theme, I developed the actual label that I thought, at some point, if by chance I pull this off, this is what I want the label to look like. And it's the Old Kentucky 31 Wonder Cure. Cures broken hearts, or what's it say? Good for broken hearts, rheumatism, snake bites, and excellent for sterilizing knives and starting campfires.
Perfect. Yeah. So, tell us some of the things you do to make your product unique, because when I interview you, and especially when we're doing some of the fun things like the quick interviews on the streets and that, you always complain I focus too much on stuff like your hair. You're a serious whiskey maker. So get serious now and tell us a little bit about why your stuff is better than what we might find out there.
I take pride in what I do. And at the event at Neely's, one of the first things I told everybody, I think when I introduced myself, my name's Pappy G, and I'm the best there is. And I don't mean to sound facetious and overconfident, but I feel that if you can't say that about what you're doing, you need to sell your shit and get a different hobby.
Mm-hmm.
Go do something else. If you can't be the very best there is in the business, and you're not convinced yourself that you're one of the best, you don't need to be doing it. This is not a business to be half-assed.
Yeah.
I take pride in what I do. I grind my own corn right here on site, 50 pounds at a time. I've worked around and tried different yeast and different things, and I figured out what works best for me. It's not real scientific. Of course, I'm not going to tell you what I do,
right?
Because then you'd be talking to Royce, and I'd be out of a job.
Yeah, it'd be Pappy Steve, his
exactly.
Wonder Cure, the new Wonder Cure.
Exactly. But you know, I take my time. I don't rush it, and I do what I know how to do, which is the old school. You know, I run an old-fashioned pot still. The only thing new generation about my pot still is I added a reflux plate to the cap that I can take in and out, which does a little bit of purification. I don't run a worm, or I'm sorry, I don't run a thumper. I run straight into a square worm. I've got the only square worm that I'm aware of, at least in the state of Kentucky. A couple of people have told me they've never seen one in the U.S. Anybody uses a square worm. And I just did it out of convenience. But it's pretty neat when I tell people I run a square worm and they look at me, it's like, do what? You know, it's something different. But, you know, I've always had the liberty, you know, I run it. If I like it, you know, I'll jar it up and I'll pass it along. If I don't like it, I've got the ability to put it in a bucket, and take it outside, throw it in the weeds. And I've done that once or twice. You know, I refuse to put an inferior product. I know exactly what it should taste like. And I don't like hot liquor. To me, if I take a drink of moonshine and it burns my mouth, it's missing. It's just, you know, I don't care how great the flavor is. I don't like the burn. And with 90% of my liquor, you will not find that burn. Even at 100 proof, it's a smooth, drinkable whiskey. And that's the way I want it. Now, I have experimented a little bit. I do, once in a while, I'll do a 8-grain mash bill, where I'll add in something besides just strictly the corn and the barley. And it is super smooth.
8 grains is a lot, yeah.
When it first comes off of the worm, it actually tastes like an oatmeal cookie. But then as it sets a few days and ages, unfortunately, it loses that taste of the oatmeal cookie, but it's still got a great flavor. There's so many different tastes that come into it. And the main thing that I'm known for, and a lot of people call my product sugar water, is at the end of it, there's just a little hint of sweetness that you get as a final note. And that's kind of my signature right there, is that just that little hint of sweet that you catch at the very end of the shot.
Gotcha. You, and again, we're going to be talking to Richard in a little bit here, but like him, you know, kind of a side thing is you're also, you know, an artist. You do some things, and you definitely have down the craft of making mash bills. So why do you do those? And tell us a little bit about making those things.
I was at a big party with Donnie Benton, and Donnie asked me, he said, I want a spiraled mash pedal. And I'm like, so why are you asking me? And he's like, well, you tinker around in the wood shop and do stuff. And I'm like, you know, hell, Donnie, I'll try anything once. And actually, the walking stick that I carry is the first one I ever made. And I didn't like the way it turned out, so I didn't give it to Donnie. I made Donnie another. And then somebody saw Donnie's and said, I really like that. Can you make one for me? And then Royce Neely called me, and I think this was probably the first interactions I had ever had with Royce. He said, I want a regular industrial paddle, and I want the comb style that you do. I want one of each. And he fell in love with them, and I think he did a whole lot of spreading the word on where he got them. And people have just picked up on them. They're unique. You can get on Amazon and you can buy a mash paddle for half the price I'm going to charge you. It's going to be a generic cookie cutter, cut with a CNC type paddle. The one that I'm going to make you has personality. No two ever look alike.
Right.
There's going to be some differences. They're never perfect, no matter how hard I try to get them perfect. It just doesn't happen that way. And I've got the creative artist where I can add two little things. I'll be making it and I'll think, hey, this would look really neat, or this would be cool. And I'll try it and I'll incorporate it into the paddle. One of Royce's flat paddle that I made him has got a ring of copper on it that when I made the paddle was like 120 years old.
Huh, that's cool.
And I took a piece of that copper and put on Royce's paddle. And, I'll put copper tips on them sometimes. Sometimes I'll use copper pins that I make myself to pin the combs in place, the dowels. Sometimes I'll use a copper roofing nail. Sometimes I'll use a wooden dowel to pin them in place. But when I get rough cut, usually 2x4 pieces of oak from a fairly local sawmill. And sometimes it just depends on what he's got. I may get a piece of hickory, I may get a piece of oak, or I may get a piece of old wormy ash that I absolutely love. It looks fabulous. And I'll, saw it down to rough size and work it down by hand to get it round, and then go from there as to whether it's going to be a flat paddle or whether it'll be a comb style or whatever.
Yeah. And I don't know if everyone knows this, but you've talked about it a little bit online and things like that. And you and I have talked about it on the show that I've got on the Apple subscription service. But you're going to be bringing your product to market with Neely Family Distillery, and you were, excited. You wanted to work with Royce. Why was you're so focused and you wanted to work with Royce Neely out of all the people out there?
I piss a lot of people off when I say this. Royce is the only one I trust.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
To me, there is a fine line in doing what is smart and selling out.
Right.
And with Royce, I feel that Royce is going to let me have my creative license and do things my way. My grain bill, and I'll go, of course, to his distillery to bash in, and we'll run it on his still. He's going to help me run that big gargantuan copper pot he's got, because I wouldn't know where to even start.
Right.
I'm used to running 40 gallon, and this thing is like 600 gallon or something. But Royce is down to earth. He's a wonderful guy. He's very intelligent. But Royce has a wonderful personality, and I've never heard anybody that knows Royce say anything other than that. And I had always told everybody it's not going to happen. I will not go legal because I'm not going to sell out. To me, selling out is when you put your name on somebody else's product just to get it on the market, just to get your name out there. I could give a rat's posterior about being famous.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm going to be famous for anything, it's going to be something that I have done.
Right. What do you say though to people? And there will be people out there. I mean, you in your mind, you've got it defined and why you're not selling out by doing what you're doing. But in the moonshine community, not selling out is very important because they're doing something that's outside the law, and they don't like when suddenly someone is going and doing things legal. Then they feel like they're forgetting who they are. So there's going to be people that say, even though you're doing things the way you want to do them, they're going to be like, oh, here comes that Pappy G guy. He's a sellout. What do you say to those folks?
Put your money where their mouth is.
Mm-hmm.
I still do what I still do, and I'll never stop doing what I do. To me, this is just an extension of what I do. Obviously, I'll have to be a whole lot more careful if my name's out there where everybody sees it.
Right.
Right now I've got a small base of people that I deal with, and I'm happy with that. I didn't get in this business to get rich, because it's not going to happen.
Right.
It's not going to happen when I go, with the legal brand.
Right.
And, I'm confident in myself, and I know why I made the decision. And I'm the type of person that, I'll tell you just straight up, go fuck yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You don't like what I do, don't buy it.
Right. What happens when I come knocking at your door and I'm just like, hey, my name's Steve Akley. I work for Diageo, and we would like to buy the Wonder Cure for $80 million. Now we're going to need you to, dance on commercials and stuff like that. You're doing whatever you have to do then, right? It's worth selling out if it's $80 million. Then, because you can really tell the haters.
There's a fine line between insanity,
80 million
between genius and insanity. $80 million is a lot of money.
Yes,
I could probably tolerate being called a whole lot of stuff for $80 million.
That's what I feel too. I'm not a sellout either, but yeah, no one's ever wsaved $80 million. That's the number, 80 million. And can't make fun of us. Any other, of course, now that you've got, the Wonder Cure will be available. Anything else up your sleeve? Would there be other products? Would you even get into aged stuff? Would you do other things if it comes out of the gate, it's a success? And Royce is kind of like, what next, Pappy G?
I've dabbled in some aged product, and I think it's turned out real well.
Uh-huh.
I'll never make a true bourbon. It would have to be marketed as an aged whiskey.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't have any issues with that. Of course, we have talked about a few different things, and I love the soap idea.
Right.
The whole wash tub with being a bubble bath and the red union suit holding the bar soap. It's
we do this
fresh you can be fresh as a daisy, light as a bee, long as you bathe with Pappy G.
Yeah.
I think that's great. And maybe have a bottle of Pappy G with you also. Get
right.
the full effect. But yeah, I would dabble in something like that just because I think it would be fun. And that's another one of those things that, if you don't like it, don't buy it.
Right.
If you don't like me, don't talk to me.
Yeah. Last question. I always like to have a fun one for the last one. And you are known for your hair. I mean, that's one of your signatures is the long flowing curly hair. And people like Heidi and McNew here are jealous of your hair and all that kind of stuff. They actually get kind of angry.
We're very envious, actually.
Right.
I have beautiful hair. What can I say?
Yeah. Would you go into business with me? Could we partner up on a moonshine based shampoo, and then you have you do the kind of the spokesmodel stuff for it?
It's
moonshine based. I mean,
have you ever seen the movie The Jerk?
Sure. Yeah.
Where he makes all this money, and then people start going blind, and he winds up losing everything he's got.
Right.
That is my fear in something like that. It would have to be very well thought out, very thoroughly researched.
Okay.
But, never say never.
Oh.
He's
telling me I've got a chance here.
I use Hey, God gave me a beautiful head of hair that I absolutely love, and I am not ashamed to flaunt it and use it as much as I can to my gain.
There you go.
You know, if waving my hair and flipping my ponytail at people, you know, gains attention, and you know, as long as people like it, you know, why not?
Absolutely. Well, that's the right answer. We'll work on it. We gotta get a good partner to help us out with the various things you got to do with the Food and Drug Administration, I'm sure. But once we get through those cats, we'll be ready to go. We'll be ready to go. Well, Pappy G, thanks so much for joining us. Can you stick around and sit through Richards, and we'll bring you back at the end. We'd like to do a Q&A with the audience after this ends. Can you hang with us?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Sounds good. What we'll do next, we'll take a quick break. And then when we come back, we are going to be talking to Richard Paul. We'll do that in just a few.
Today's show is sponsored by Moonshine University. Moonshine University offers programs to assist individuals in the bourbon industry or simply fans wanting to step up their knowledge. Whether you are looking for in-person learning at the classrooms of Moonshine University or looking for self-study online, there are options to fit your unique needs. Check them out at moonshineuniversity.com. We are also sponsored by the ABV Network's Distillers Summit in Key West, Florida. This 14-day event features events and networking opportunities from January 27th through 30th, 2022. When there is no better place to be in the world than there is to be in sunny Key West. Get more information on our website at abvnetwork.com.
Yeah, just one correction, a 4-day event. 14 days in Key West. I wouldn't be alive by the end of it. You'd lose me by day 6 or so. That'd be it. I'd be done. Just barely at sea, I guess. Take me out
after 14 days. We are lost to the sea at that point.
There's no way. Yeah. So we're talking about that when we were in Florida. We went to Sanibel Island, Florida this summer, and we're talking about we'll be back in Florida. Next winter, that'll be cool. I'm like, that's a totally different trip. This is about relaxation. Key West is about survival. It pushes you to your physical limits.
You don't really get to Key West to relax. Like for being an island, it's not very beachy per se.
No,
so you're not lounging around like you would on the Gulf side.
Exactly.
You go to Sanibel.
Exactly. So there you go. Join us in Key West. So check it out. We've got information on the Distiller Summit at abvnetwork.com. Our next guest has combined his love for whiskey with his love for art via his company, Art of the Spirits. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mr. Richard Paul. Hey, Richard. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Good. Very good. So we like to kind of, start out with a fun one. So before we talk about whiskey, let's talk about your art. And we talked a little bit about this before we got going today. Tell us a little bit about what you do in the world of art.
Well, I started with some amazing artists who really mentored me through the years, David Ewell and Dan James. And so they really inspired me to be where I'm at today. I don't think I would be here without them. So, and I build some really cool stuff. Once we get the distillery open, I'm gonna make a whole Victorian steampunk. It's gonna be called the Gypsy Room. We're gonna make a really kind of steampunk, elegant tasting room. So I'm gonna build all these dispensers and lights and stuff myself. So, that's kind of what I do. And I kind of integrated that into the whiskey. We do photo shoots with our art, with the artist, and then the artist will take that rendition of the photo shoot and make an oil painting out of it. And then we'll showcase them on our whiskey bottles.
That's pretty cool. When you're doing these art pieces, which have a lot of different components to it, lights and pouring spouts and all this kind of cool stuff. And how does that work? In your mind, do you kind of draw this out? This is what it's going to look like and then build it? Or do you just start building and let the piece tell you what it's going to look like, the final product?
It's kind of funny. I mean, a story. I went to a show one time and I had a bunch of these whiskey, I call them Art of the Spirits whiskey dispensers. And I had a bunch of them displayed. And this one guy came up and he's like, who the fuck in their crazy ass fucking mind made these? And I was like, well, it was me. He's like, are you a fucking pipe fitter? Are you a plumber? I'm like, no, just an artist, and so You know, I started with some really basic concepts and probably boring as shit when I first started, and then I got, you know, back to the drawing board like any other artist, and just, you know, just keep plugging along. And finally, I came up with this concept behind me, and I was just building them for clients as personal bars in their home. Depending on what their bar looked like, I would build the dispenser around their bar, whether it was coming out of their bar, out of a barrel. I was just making really unique things. So a lot of stores started asking me for it. So I integrated it into the barrel program. So that's, you know, now I kind of have like a steady plan of how I build these, but each one of them's different. You know, I try to make them a little bit different. The next one I'm doing for a client, I'm doing a pulley system on it. So, you know, I try to do them different every time. I try not to make them all the same.
Yeah. So. And initially you worked with like artists like David Ewell. What, just to give us an idea, because, you know, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, artists are measured in popular culture by how much their paintings sell for. So tell us a little bit, you know, a typical David Ewell piece, not anything huge or anything like that, just a normal size painting you might hang over the sofa in the living room. What would that sell for?
You know, David's prints, they range from, he does very limited prints, so they'll range from like 2,000 to 5,000
for a print, right? What about an original, an oil original?
Yeah. It varies on size and things like that.
Sure.
The client is, but you know, on average, they will sell them anywhere from 25,000 to 100,000 plus. You know, depending on.
Yeah. So I mean, these are big time artists, obviously. And the only reason I'm asking that, just to give the audience, to let them know that they're big time artists. And you're working with these guys, and obviously friends with them too. So you're you know, at events and things like that, you're selling there because they are Harley artists. That you know, there's a whole clientele that you know, there's a lot of events you can go to. They have a big audience, of course, Harley. So but you're doing this, and at some point, you know, either you weren't making, or you wanted a little bit more domesticated lifestyle, maybe because you had to travel around and all that. What led you to decide, I got to get out of this, I'm gonna do something else, and ultimately it leads you into the whiskey business?
You know, what's funny though is when I met Daniel and David, they were hiring, and at that time I was only 19 years old. You know, so I filled out an application. I went in there, and then. But the day before, I actually wasn't even going to go to the interview because it was only for $10 an hour, you know? So I'm like, and then, you know what, just something told me, just go, you know? So I went, I got interviewed by them, and they were looking for, you know, somebody to help manage their warehouse. They were starting a clothing line, and it was a really artistic clothing line, kind of like Affliction. That's what they were going after. So that was kind of the basis of my job, was to kind of do framing, you know, organize clothes and t-shirts, real boring stuff, to tell you the truth. And, you know, found out, shit, this guy could sell some art, you know? So I sold a $12,000 painting to a guy that just walked in their studio. And then from there, they were like, shit, you know, let's send Richard on the road, you know, let's see what he can do. And I started going on the road with him, and going to Sturgis, Daytona. I think I was 20 years old, and I drove probably, what was it, like a 30-foot trailer with the truck by myself. And I probably had $1.2 million worth of art and motorcycle in that truck. Wow. Going to Daytona. And I wasn't even legal to drink, you know?
Right, yeah.
So that was fun, you know, fun stories. But I knew I was working with them for a reason. You know, I wasn't making shit. I mean, you know, $10 an hour and shit. I think I was making $500 every 2 weeks, you know?
Right.
You know, but I just knew deep down I was working with this guys for a reason. And I know why today, why I work for them, you know?
Yeah.
So after that, you know, I was making so much good commission selling art. I was blessed to buy my house at 22. So I bought my house. And then it was like what, 2011. And I stayed in the house for a little bit. I was doing little odds and ends and things like that, and still working with Dave and them. But I eventually was telling them, I was like, look, I want to get in the whiskey industry. I'd love to showcase you guys. But, you know, I didn't come for money. It was just, you know, I didn't have really anything. So I risked it all. I sold my house, and I bet the house on me, you know.
Yeah, literally bet the house.
I bet the house on me, and kind of just like Pappy G, if you're not going to go out, bet.
Yeah. Yeah, you did it. But that's become my mantra is, yes, if you believe in something and you work hard, bet on yourself. Yeah, I mean, you got to do that. I mean, the corporate job, man, I was a hamster on a wheel, 20 years on that wheel. And yeah. And now I finally found happiness. So yes. So yeah, I'm just a big believer of that American dream of going out and starting your own business. So it's cool. So, but you decide you're going to get in the whiskey business. That's not an easy business, no matter what you're doing. Now you didn't open up a distillery. You're working on that now, and that's going to be a whole different set of rules that you have to deal with, all that kind of stuff. But even just buying barrels and stuff like that, that's not easy to do. I mean, you have to learn the business. Then there's all kinds of regulations that you have to adhere to and all that kind of stuff. Tax you got to pay. I mean, how do you learn that business when you don't come from that business?
Well, you know, I started reaching out to different Colorado distilleries in town, was meeting with them about my concept, and a lot of them honestly were just assholes. You know, they didn't want to like, you know, they were like, well, we don't have enough whiskey, or just gave me the runaround, and didn't really want me to compete with them, you know, and so finally I kind of landed on another distillery in Aurora that kind of helped me get going. And, you know, and I still have a long road to go. I'm going to open up my own place, and I'm blessed to be in a position to do that. But, you know, in the beginning, it was tough as hell. Shoot, you know, I think when I was trying to really release a high-end brand, and the highest end bottle in Colorado, I think was like $100, and that was Law's Whiskey House. You know, so I would be competing with them, and I was in about the 125 range when I first released. So it was a challenge, you know, but I knew it was a patient game. I was going to grind as hard as I could, you know, and never give up, you know.
You know, man, there definitely could be something said for that. So again, you know, the market's not there. You're kind of inventing the market as you go for this sourced whiskey, where you're adding value to it. You always did something else to it, you know, some sort of finish or something like that. And again, when it's not in Colorado, you're kind of setting the stage, which is pretty wild to think about, isn't it?
Yeah, it totally is, especially the clientele now that I have, all the people that, you know, been supporting me over the years. It really blows my mind of kind of, you know, where we came from and where we're at now. And I got some really cool things that I'll talk to you guys about that I have in the works with some really famous artists and things like that we're going to be doing works with too. So, and some other distillery collaborations. Now distilleries want to work with me, you know?
Right. Yeah.
Before, no one wanted to even work with me, and now a lot of them are just hitting me up just to do a collaboration. So I'll talk a little bit about that later.
Okay. You know, this business, again, the complicated, because it's fine. You buy the bottles, you figure out where you're going to get them from, where you have to store them. You got to then bottle them, and have to be labeled. They got to follow all these rules to label the stuff that you're doing and all that kind of that. But then even selling the stuff's hard. So how did you, just as a one-person company, how do you then begin selling your product?
You know, well, what I did in the beginning, the good thing about Colorado is it's a self-distribution state.
That is key. Yeah, that's big.
I own my own distribution out here, and I kind of integrated and helped brands launch, which kind of helped me. So I was distributing tequila, vodka, mixers, and things just to help me get by and kind of help me get into accounts, because, you know, it was cheaper, you know, and a lot of liquor stores, they'll pick up the cheap stuff, and it just kind of keeps money flowing. But really, that's how I started, was just self-distributing. And I had, so when I first released, a funny story, RNDC, I set up at a show, had all the paintings. I even brought the original down to this one, you know, just to show people who I am, what I'm about. And RNDC came up to me. He was like, I don't know, the president or some shit. I forgot, but he told me I would, he goes, you'll be done in 6 months to a year. You won't even make it, you know? And I go, that's good to hear from you. You'll see what happens. And it's funny, they try to approach me years later, and I denied them. Right. And I denied every distributor. So I still self-distribute till this day.
That's cool. Very, very cool. Definitely a great advantage being in Colorado. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's ultimately your goal for the brand? As we talk about, you're on the verge of, now having your own distillery. Where do you see this thing going, Richard? Do you think is it going to be a local player? Is it going to be a regional player? Where we're talking about several states. Is it going to be a U.S. player? Is it going to be a global? Where do you think this company can go?
My really plan is, get the distillery up and going. Let people know what we're about, because so many people hit me up to come visit me and things like that. And just the market right now, it's crazy. I was going to open up in 2020, and with, COVID, I mean, the whole crap that went on, it just didn't happen, and I had a pass, and I just laid low for that year. But, the goal is, even in Colorado, I'm known for only barrel picks. The only way you get our whiskey is you come and hand select a barrel from us. So I am in Texas now. I'm finally legal in Texas. So we'll be sending down multiple barrels down there to Skip's Beer, Wine, and Spirits down in Texas. And so he's going to launch us down there. Honestly, I don't care to go national, global. That's not what I'm about. I just want to keep it craft and really do really unique things and make it unique to these stores. And that's why I've been booked out for 2 years of just barrel picks. I haven't sold any cases. I have just only done barrel picks,
So when you get your distillery going, are you going to be the distiller, or is that a position you would look to hire?
I will look to hire, but I will work with them. I have a lot of mentors like Victor Matthews from Black Bear Distillery, which I did send you them, by the way. So you got to reach out to him. I'd love to even be on the show, because this guy is really one of my mentors. His family, kind of like Pappy G's, it dates back to the 1800s, and he's really about craft. He doesn't source anything, and I love that about him. And he understands what I do, but he is one of the biggest mentors that I have in this industry. So he's actually kind of being a mentor and a consultant on the distillery. So I will look to hire on that position, but I will be a part of that with him.
Yeah. Mail order. Tell us about what you do with mail order.
Mail order. Let's see. We're gonna, for you guys, right?
Well, just in general, is people who are seeing this or listening to the show, we also will rebroadcast the Bourbon Daily. Is there places that they can go if they're not in Colorado to buy your product?
Yeah, there's a couple places like Total Beverage. It's totalbev.com. They ship in 9 states for me. They're on their 11th barrel with me, so they have a whole line of barrel picks of mine. Okay. But we do a couple things with you guys. I try to, like, we're doing a whole Bonnie and Clyde barrel finish series for the holidays. We took a 5 to 6 year old bourbon. We finished it in Tawny, Ruby, Madeira, Sauvignon Blanc, and Foursquare rum barrels, and they all got hand selected by stores. But I'm hanging some back, for special groups like your guys, and then we're gonna throw in a couple things if you guys ever wanted bottles. I just got the tins today, so I wanted to show you guys what these look like. These are the oil paintings. So we got them in a tin sign. They're a little bit, cool, less expensive than the paintings, and so people can hang them up in their bars. And so we got a couple of those. We got the Bonnie and Clyde and the original ones in today. So we finally got those going.
Yeah, those look nice. That's cool. Absolutely. So tell us about the collaboration with Mike from Copper Sky. What does that mean when you guys collaborate? Or how does that work?
Well, like Colorado distilleries, I haven't seen too many. Like, they don't really collaborate too much. So me and Mike got together, and we started thinking, how can we do something that's really unique? And so we went down, we picked out 2 low rye mash 5 to 6 year old bourbons. We picked through both of our barrels, and We hand selected each, and what we did is we blended them together. And Mike was like, let's put him in a Sauvignon Blanc barrel. And I'm like, shit, Mike, has that ever even been done? You know? And he's like, no, not that I know of. No, oh, shit, how do we know it's gonna even work? I was scared as hell. So I was talking with the level 5 sommelier and just getting his take, and was like, hey, do you think this could work? And he's telling me, he's like, you know what? I think you got something here. He goes, but I'd like to taste it before. So about 3 months into the finishing barrel, I took it to 5 of my biggest accounts, and I told them, let me know what you guys think of this. And all 5 of them try to buy this barrel from me. So,
that's when you know you got a winner, right?
Yeah, it's a winner. One store, Special Forces, I'm going to be doing a Sauv Blanc for the next year, because I told them this year we're only doing a distillery release, and the plan is it'll probably sell out in a day. So what we did, though, is we were trying to figure out label concept. Okay, how do we make this happen? Because mine is an oil painting. When I go with David, it takes us about a year to year and a half to even make this happen. Like, we can't just, make a design and slap it on the bottle, so it takes time. So we got, the cool thing about Mike is he told me, he's like, well, I'm actually down the line, he's related to Clyde Barrow.
Really?
So we're doing a video, people, they'll see the story on it and stuff. We're doing a whole video series on it. But so Mike, I was like, let's do the Bonnie and Clyde. So what we did is we scheduled a photo shoot probably about, I don't know, a month and a half ago. And we got all period correct cars. We had a 1933 there. We actually had an armory bring all the guns, most of the guns that Bonnie and Clyde had in their car. They didn't have a Thompson, I don't believe, but he still brought it. So we did the photo shoot anyways.
Sure.
It's just a badass gun,
Right,
So,
right, yeah.
So we did the photo shoot, and we actually collaborated with Saving Abel. So there's one of my friends, Scott Wilson. He is the guitar bassist of Saving Abel, and so he's gonna do a whole Bonnie and Clyde song for us that has Copper Sky and Are the Spirits in the lyrics. So it's really cool. But so what we did is we did the photo shoot with Mike. If you've seen, I just posted today of one photos of the photo shoot. So my label is gonna be of that photo shoot that we did, and then
you got the big gun in that thing, yeah.
Yep. And then I'll have that on the side label, and we'll both have stickers that say 2021. We're gonna do it yearly, annually. We'll do a distillery collaboration. So this will be the first one that we do. And we're going to launch it in December.
Oh, nice. That's really cool. You said you got other things coming up. Tell us a little bit about what you got going on.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, if you follow me on social media, you'll see I was at David Yule's studio. We met with a famous model. She's called Vilma, and Steampunk Chuck. And they're real famous in the clothing industry, and David uses her a lot in a lot of his steampunk series. And I told David, I'm like, look, I'm building a lot of steampunk stuff. I go, let's do a steampunk, because his steampunk series sells out, like, I think in a day. It's crazy. So I told him, let's do a steampunk release. So we've been trying to plan this like all year. Just happened to work out where they were in town. We made it happen. They were traveling through, so we made it happen. We got her. And David was like, I don't want to put a motorcycle in it, just because, I put it all in my other stuff, and it's whiskey. He's like, I don't, so he has his badass steampunk bike. It's like an $80,000 custom built. It has like a 30 knuckle on it. It is beautiful. And so the Steampunk Chuck's like, man, can we shoot this bike, man? He's like, I'm telling you, he's just like itching to shoot it. And so what we're doing, this steampunk one is for a 17-year cask strength rye whiskey that I'm going to finish in 4 square rum barrels.
Oh, cool.
We only have a limited amount, so they're probably going to they already got sold out. They already got sold in a day to stores, some here in Colorado and some in the store in Texas. But when we did this photo shoot, that's what we're doing it for. So Dave's putting the whole concept together for the painting. He's gonna have to bust it out really quick so we could get this out, because usually he has time, but just kind of due to everything that happened, we probably have a couple weeks, so
yeah, not much time. Huh. Well, that sounds very cool. And yeah, that like everything that you do is cool. Matter of fact, just in general, I think you're cool. I see your pictures, I'm like, that's a cool guy. If I came out to Colorado, do you think you could work on my look and turn me into a cool guy like you?
Shit. I mean,
I'd say that's a no. I'd say that's a no. Even he can't do that. He's like, yeah,
whiskey in hand, man, you're a cool guy,
there you go. Last question for you. And this was just a fun one because you like art and you like, specific artists, but let's talk classic artists. Who's a classic artist? Somebody that if you had to take an art class in college because they make you take that class, what would be an artist like from that we would all recognize would be your favorite out of the classic artist?
That was a tough question when I was thinking about it, because there's so many of them, Rembrandt, Picasso, so many.
Oh, yeah.
But when I came down to it, I was like, really, of the 20th century that I had to take out for a drink, for dinner, I would take Norman Rockwell out,
Norman Rockwell, yeah.
Norman Rockwell. And I learned a lot. It's funny from the artists, because they actually taught me how to design. I was learning from Daniel James. And so a lot of the labels and you see, I design all myself. I don't commission it out. I do all, they give me the artwork. I design the whole label myself. And just learning from them, they had so many books of Norman Rockwell, and I just kind of learning from them and studying from them. They would always go back to like Norman Rockwell style, and that's kind of where like Dave and Dan, their type of style of painting came from. It's kind of a taste of Norman Rockwell, Yeah. They've done some of those paintings, and they're just great. But honestly, the dude is just amazing, because he would kind of talk about like more like social problems going on in the world, through his paintings,
Yeah.
That was just a genius at painting, so I would love to pick his brain. That would be one guy I love to pick his brain.
That'd be the ultimate. Okay. Yeah. I think that's a good choice for sure. And when you think about American artists, Norman Rockwell he's up there with anybody. So classic images come definitely from him. So very cool stuff. Well, Richard, thanks so much for joining us. And is there anything you'd like to share? Website, people want to follow your journey, that type of thing.
Yeah, you guys could follow us on Art of the Spirits Whiskey on Facebook, on Instagram. We're on Art of the Spirits. You can find us at artofthespirits.com. But we're going to do some fun things for you guys for the holidays. I'm going to send you guys out the whole Bonnie and Clyde barrel finish series. Get your guys' take on it. And like I said, if we're holding a couple bottles back, so very rare ones, we're going to gift you guys. I'm going to send these to you guys too, Steve, so you guys can have them. Okay. The Bonnie and Clyde tins, and then the originals. One thing I want to tell you guys too, the originals, we got commissioned by 10 Special Forces. They loved Bonnie and Clyde, the whiskey, and they reached out to me out in Fort Carson. And they were like, honestly, hands down, you were one of the best ones, in Colorado. We want to commission you to do a custom label for us. So I got with David. We did the originals bottle. So we only do it in barrel picks. We don't sell cases of it. You get your hand selected sticker, but each barrel, I'm launching this program next week. It's called Whiskey for Vets. And each barrel pick, every case sold, we're donating $6 to a local veteran. So whether the veteran, needs bills paid, needs gas, needs groceries. So next week, I'll be going live on our social media. I'm going to take a veteran out to Costco. We're going to fill up a whole cart full of groceries, even if it's over $200-300, whatever. We just want to give back and help vets with this one. So we're sending a barrel down to Texas, and we're getting with the team at Skips, and we're going to find a local veteran to help out there as well.
That's cool. Very cool. Love it, man. Giving back and taking care of the veterans. That's a really cool thing.
Oh, yeah.
Pappy G, how about you? People want to follow your journey. Where can they do so?
You can find me at Ask Pappy G or Dear Pappy G on Facebook.
Gotcha.
And Pappy G in Kentucky on Instagram.
Wow. You're out there on social media. Yeah, very cool. Very cool. Well, let's hear it for both of our guys.
Let's hear it for. My wife says I can't have TikTok.
Oh, I think we all are in favor of you not having that. So let's hear it for George Rose and Richard Paul. Great job, guys. Great job. Really appreciate it. McNew, people want to follow your journey. Where can they do exactly that?
Yep, I am on Instagram at McNew ABV, and every Tuesday I host Bottle Kills and Last Meals on the ABV Network channel.
For me, I'm an easy guy to find. I'm at Steve Akley on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. I've got a website, steveakley.com. The important website, though, is abvnetwork.com. Check it out because everything that we do is out there. Maybe you're looking for my book, start at abvnetwork.com. It'll take you right there on Amazon. Or if you're looking for our old shows, anything that we do, again, all starts at abvnetwork.com. McNew, anything else to say before we get out of here?
I'd like to remind the audience to please hit that subscribe button for Bourbon Sasquatch on YouTube, where all of our shows will be posted. And when you're watching an episode, please give us a thumbs up, leave some comments, and share it. It helps new people find the show, which is very important to us. And next week, we have Ryan Thompson of 10th Mountain Distillery and Mama Hal of Bourbon Boys Chocolates.
All right. One last round of applause for our guests.
Thanks,
really
guys.
appreciate them coming on. Thanks, guys. We'll see you guys next week. Take care, everybody. Bye.
Bye.